Hello everyone, with us having just guesses on what the next DLC is going to be. We'll probably know at the end of this month, but I wanted to go over some Discord DLCs that some of the followers of this channel have made and kind of highlight those, see kind of where they stand and what kind of DLCs we make it in the future based off community feedback. And so I think that's a pretty cool idea. Hey guys, I'm Greyhammer. I cover a lot of Planet Zoo content, so if you do enjoy that kind of content, go ahead and subscribe if you enjoy this video. And yeah, go ahead and like this one because it's really fun. If you do want to make your own DLC ideas, go ahead and join my Discord. There's plenty of people there who will want to help you out with the formatting and everything and add constructive feedback to what species they thought that should go in it. Without any further ado, let's get into the first species pack I'm going to cover, and that is the Endangered Earth Animal Pack. This is created by Mustard Pop Tart. He's one of my followers who is active in the Discord and in my live streams. So let's go over this pack, and it's kind of like a conservation pack part 2, almost, if you want to think of it that way. So you're going to have a bunch of species here that are endangered or critically endangered, and so let's get into it. This one has the northern white-cheeked gibbon, the red wolf, golden lion tamarin, lowland anoa, the Matschie's tree kangaroo, ai, kakapo, and Sumatran tiger. Now let's talk about some of these species, and some of them that I think are the weaker ones, and some of them that I think are the stronger ones. So let's go ahead and just talk about the ones that I think are probably the least wanted in this pack, and I think that's going to be the northern white-cheeked gibbon and the Sumatran tiger. And that's just because we have two current gibbon species, the Lar gibbon and the Siamang, and two subspecies of tigers. Now, the Sumatran tiger is nice as it's significantly smaller than the Bengal tiger and Amur tiger, a more sleek design, and Planet Zoo has much better modeling capabilities nowadays, so a more realistic tiger model would be good to have. I think the northern white-cheeked gibbon is probably the weakest one of this pack because it's just so very similar to other gibbon species that we have already in the game. However, it would be good to show some endangered species of lesser apes, not great apes, and definitely would be worth having in the game, I think. All of these animals would work really well in the game. Red wolves are one of my favorite animals that I really want to see in Planet Zoo. This would probably get a lot of community pushback on it, just because it's another canid species and people are tired of canid species, and there's some debate on whether they're just coyote gray wolf hybrids, but it's pretty well established that they are their own species and they are incredibly critically endangered and a great zoo success story, so it would be great to have them as a more southern United States animal. The only wolf endemic to the United States. The golden lion tamarin is another really cool species. They have been brought back from the brink of extinction. I think another option would be the cotton top tamarin to swap out with those, but it would be a really nice small monkey, would be able to create some really cool climbing enclosures, so they would certainly be an interesting one to have. The lowland anoa is very highly requested. Large, bovid, and not very, or it's actually pretty common in zoos, but an endangered species. So it would be cool to have a species like that in Planet Zoo. I don't have much more on them. The kakapo is a ground parrot. It's a very interesting and bizarre species, and would really help flesh out the Oceania roster a little bit more. If I'm remembering correctly, they're from New Zealand, and a very unique species. It's a little small, so I don't Planet Zoo, it's really tricky with smaller enclosures, but it's a cool species. Ai is another great species. They picked the cutest picture of an ai that I've ever seen, considering most of them are haunting. But a really cool nocturnal lemur species would do great for Madagascar houses. And then the Matchy's tree kangaroo. People have been requesting tree kangaroos for a long time now, and to have an endangered species like this is a great kind of tie-in as a good conservation reason to have the tree kangaroo. And again, rounding out that Oceania roster a little bit more. But let's get on to the next pack. This is by Raikou, and it's the African pack. He or she, I'm not certain, is working on the African pack. They think that it's going to be a pretty decent chance that the Africa pack is what's next. So let's get into their species choices here. They have a pack 2 as a separate option, but we'll go over that in a different video. So for that, we have the Nile crocodile, the red-crowned crane, the helmeted guinea fowl, the impala, the aardwolf, serval, greater kudu, and the black-footed cat. All of these species I would really love to see in Planet Zoo. I think of these, the least likely to get added would either be the aardwolf or the impala. Aardwolf, because we already have 2 hyena species, and people complain when there's too much representation of a species, even though the aardwolf is relatively different, as it is an insect-eating hyena species. The impala I don't see in many zoos, but they're certainly a cool species and would love to have them in the game. A little bit about each species. Nile crocodile would be our first crocodilian from Africa, which is insane. We need a crocodile species in Africa, and they're pretty commonly kept in zoos. So, definitely like this one. Red-crowned crane is another iconic zoo species. Very common in zoos, would be great for those wetland habitats of Africa. Talking about iconic zoo animals, you've got the helmeted guinea fowl. If the zoo does not have peacocks free roaming, they probably have guinea fowl free roaming. And so this species really fits that just very classic zoo vibe. Impala is another great choice. One of the fastest antelope species. I believe they can reach speeds of up to 50 miles per hour, meaning that a full-grown adult is very uncommon to be taken out by anything except for a very hungry cheetah, because they are a little bit larger than a cheetah's main prey. Aardwolf, again, a very iconic species of hyena that is great for nocturnal houses, and an insectivore, so would be able to have some cool enrichment options with termite mounds, and maybe some interspecies enrichment with an aardvark. The serval is an amazing cat species, kind of on the larger end of the small cat spectrum, so closer to like a lynx size, and really able to jump 10 feet into the air, specializes on eating birds, and they're also a very common zoo species, often used as an ambassador animal to do animal shows. So it would be cool to have some enrichment like that options, but I would doubt that. Greater kudu is one of the largest antelope species, and with the new nilgai rig would be even easier for Planet Zoo to be able to create. Really cool looking species, very common in things like safari parks, and a very highly requested animal. The black-footed cat is one of the smallest cat species and the most successful predator in Africa. They have a high kill rate to when they go out on hunts. I think them and African wild dogs are pretty much tied for that. So they're a really cool species. My local zoo has a family of them, and they are so cute. Would be great to have this small cat species in the game. This is by Origin TT, and this is the Islands Animal Pack. We've got a few here that are kept, that are in our other packs, but this is following very much off the Grasslands Animal Pack, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. I think all of these picks are pretty good, so let's get into it. The Visayan warty pig is an animal that I very frequently see in zoos. I mean, I haven't personally seen them, but every zoo I see has these guys mixed with Indian rhinoceroses. So, really great pick there to start off. We've already talked about the lowland of Noah, so there's no point in bringing up further information on that. The next is a species I had not seen until this past weekend when I was at the Detroit Zoo. So we have the Japanese giant salamander, a really cool 5 foot long salamander species. So it'd be great to create some aquatic habitats. The only problem is that these guys don't actually come out of the water ever. So that would be the slightly less likely part about these species. Long-beaked echidna, another great monotreme species, of which we only have the platypus currently in the game, and great for the Oceania pack. The Hispaniolan Solenodon, I don't know much about these, and I don't know how frequently they're kept in zoos, so I can't say too much about them, but they are super unique. They are pretty small, so again, one of those smaller species that the way Planet Zoo currently works, they're probably going to have way too large of an enclosure for what they need, but they are super cool. The Malio is a species of bird, I believe, from Oceania. I don't know as much about them, but I'm pretty sure they're a mound nester, from what I understand, in the megapode family. So, and they are definitely one of the more highly requested ground birds. The nene is the state bird of Hawaii and is endemic there. Was an endangered species. I'm not sure if they still are, but I have seen them in zoos. My local zoo did have them for a while, and they are a really cool species. And then, similar to the butterfly treatment, we have 5 species of birds of paradise that would be able to be added into the walkthrough aviary. This is probably unlikely, but would make everyone happy. Everyone would be so happy. I don't think anyone would complain about the pack if it had this in it almost. So you've got the magnificent bird of paradise, the Rajiana bird of paradise, the superb, the king, and the lesser. All beautiful species, all would get interspecies enrichment with each other. And you could have this amazing walk-through aviary with birds and maybe even the spectacled flying fox, because they do live in the same area. Would be cool to have flying foxes and birds in the same enclosure. That's it for Origins pack here. Let's get on to the next one. This is another pack by Origin, though. It's really cool. It's the Miniature Marvels pack, so all about really small animals. And again, this is unfortunately a problem with Planet Zoo, is that they don't handle small animals very well with just the size of enclosures required for them, with small animals needing 200 square meters. But these species would be cool, and it could be maybe a way that Planet Zoo could enhance those options, maybe even adding some of these species as walk-through exhibit animals. But we've got the Malabar giant squirrel, and they're a really cool species. The Gambian pouched rat, long-tailed chinchilla, European rabbit, black-footed ferret, bat-eared fox, tiger quoll, and southern poodoo. So let's talk about this a little bit. I don't know about a bunch of these species, and I did not do research beforehand, so please forgive me. I'm not sure if the Malabar giant squirrel is the same as the Indian giant squirrel. It might be the same species. They look very similar. If they are the same species, well, then I have them in my current zoo burn, which I've been building up recently. So they're certainly a very cool species. And then we've got the Gambian pouched rat, which is a rat species from Africa, and they can store food in their cheek pouches, which is why they're called a pouched rat. I believe that is accurate. I could be spitting complete nonsense there. But the long-tailed chinchilla is a rodent species from the Andes, very dense fur, and is often kept as a pet, so it would be a really cool species. European rabbit is a very common lagomorph that is spread kind of across Australia as an invasive species, but also, of course, native to Europe. Really cool species. I'd love to see a rabbit species in Planet Zoo. It's kind of weird that we don't have one, though I don't often see them in zoos either. The only one I've heard about that really keeps them is the Dallas World Aquarium. Black-footed ferret used to be one of my favorite animals of all time. They're a really cool species, almost went completely extinct, where there were only 11 individuals left. And through zoo captive breeding populations and the San Diego Zoo and Aquarium, or I think it's just the San Diego Zoo, I don't know why I added aquarium there, they have been bred back from almost extinction, a really cool species that preys almost exclusively on prairie dogs. Bat-eared fox is another really cool fox species from Africa. I would say this is probably the weakest pack because it adds another African fox with big ears, but they are really cool. Those big ears actually serve a slightly different purpose than they do in the fennec fox. It allows them to hear termites underground so they can go in and eat those termites. Really cool. Tiger quoll is another really cool marsupial. They're very closely related to like the Tasmanian devil and the thylacine, a very interesting species that is really suffering from cane toads, but they're actually trying to figure out ways to genetically make them immune to cane toad venom or poison, which is really cool. The southern poodoo is the smallest deer found in southern areas of South America, living in colder mountainous regions, and a very cool species that would be interesting to see in Planet Zoo. And let's get into the last pack here of the 5 that I am showing, and that's the semi-aquatic pack. This is by Shadow Hunter. He's got this great group of species that can swim, and it's a lot of highly requested ones. You've got the copu, or I believe it's also known as the nutria, the elephant seal, Nile crocodile, a water buck, water moccasin, or also known as the cottonmouth, the Kodiak bear, fishing cat, and coati. The nutria, yes, they are also known as nutria, is an invasive species to the area that I actually live in. And they're kind of similar to a muskrat, so a semi-aquatic rodent species, similar to like a beaver, but smaller. So it would be really cool to have those smaller species. The elephant seal more likely would be a northern elephant seal because they are kept in captivity, rarely, but they are kept. Would be a really cool pinniped species. We only have 2 in the game, and would be very different than the other species we have. We've already talked about the Nile crocodile, so no need to further wear that out. The water buck, I think, is probably the weakest in this pack, just because they kind of fit the same ecological niche as the Nile lechwe, but they're certainly an interesting species, but people complain about too much hoof stock. Water moccasin would make a great exhibit animal, would be able to use the same kind of exhibit as the diamondback terrapin, and I love them because they're a native species to here. And they vary in color pretty widely. I'm used to seeing them significantly darker than the ones shown in this picture. Kodiak bear would be also a pretty weak choice in my opinion, just because we already have the grizzly bear and the Himalayan brown bear, and another subspecies of bear would probably be poorly received by the community. It would be nice to get a really good bear model of a brown bear, but I feel like if they are to bring another brown bear species, I think the Eurasian brown bear makes more sense. Fishing cat is probably, besides the Nile crocodile, I would say that is one of the stronger members of the pack, along with the coati, because they are pretty highly requested. They're very unique for other cat species with a pretty long snout. Only cat species I can think of that has a more interesting head is the jaguarundi. But the fishing cat's a really cool species, can be found in India and other parts of Asia, and as its name suggests, it fishes for fish. So really cool there. The South American coati or the white-nosed coati would be a great pick for this pack. I'm not aware of them being super aquatic, but this pack is semi-aquatic, so we'll let that kind of maybe they do swim. I'm not aware of it as much. Very highly requested animal. Probably, I haven't checked the wish list recently, but it's probably number 1 on the wish list right now. So this pack would be pretty happily received, even if it had the water buck and Kodiak bear, just due to the fact of the coati being in this pack. And the fishing cat and Nile crocodile would help sell that as well. So that was it. Just a reminder, guys, go ahead and join the Discord. I'll have the link in the description. of this video, because I know that you'll probably get your head turning of what animals you want to see in Planet Zoo. So go ahead, join our Discord, create some packs. I'd really love to cover those for you, and I think they're quite interesting to try and see what the community comes up with. But without any further ado, if you enjoyed this, go ahead and subscribe to the channel, because I've seen the analytics and it's like 70% of y'all aren't subscribed that are watching. Go ahead and like this video, because it will really help out this video kind of get up in the algorithm and more people be able to see it. And yeah, just comment below what of these packs is your favorite, and maybe any changes / additions you'd like to see to these. Without any further ado, guys, I've been Greyhammer, and I'll see you in the next episode. Bye, guys.